Welcome to Bastards and Basilisks. I had like a whole time life there for a second. Welcome to Bastards and Basilisks. This video we're going to be talking about the Blood Hunter for the 5th edition class and everything. We're going to go into the core details of it, and we're going to ignore the blood curses, by the way. There's way too many, and I'm probably going to be talking about the ones that I used to like that aren't here anymore. So we're going to go over that on probably a video on my channel. But my name is Brandon.
I'm Kalvin.
And you already seen the intro, the travesty if that was.
No, the outro is a tragedy.
No,
the outro is great. Both are great. The intro is great. Yeah. It's a little loud, but the outro is chef's kiss.
The outro is amazing.
It's 100% Kalvin. Anyway.
Anyways, so I'm going to start off with the hit points and everything, which, Kalvin, you've seen how the hit points kind of start off with this. It looks weird to me. It might just be me though, but it says you get 1d10 per Blood Hunter level, and then it says hit points at first level. Do you usually see that in the other classes? I don't think so. Like,
yes.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me looking at weird.
Yeah. No. A thing that in 3rd edition, I think every edition from 3rd or 3.5 before you would roll for your first level hit points, and then in 4th edition they made it so that you just got specific amount of hit points based on a number,
your
like
constitution, your
so
stuff.
So in 4th edition you were given a specific amount. I think it's to decrease and so they brought that into 5th edition because it's having a wizard be level 1 and only having like 2 hit points or 0 hit points, because you can have a negative con modifier. So you roll 1, you get like, cool, we have a wizard who a strong gust of wind and they're dead. Like,
yeah,
so it increases survivability.
Weird. Like I guess it's because I know most of the classes and their hit points. I just don't look at the hit points anymore, so it just looked really weird for me. So I apologize. That was just something I needed clarified, because being in 5th edition for a little bit, you kind of like remember hit dice. But yeah, they get a D10, and based off your Constitution modifier, you level up from that. Their proficiencies: they have light, medium armors and shields. They are proficient with simple and martial weapons. Their proficient tools are alchemist supplies, and their saving throws are dexterity and intelligence. So their first ability is called Hunter's Bane, which is... So go ahead.
You missed skills.
Where's the skills? Oh shit! It's right under the PDF, under the chart. So that's why I completely forgot about it. My bad. The proficient skills that you can select from, you can choose 3: athletics, acrobatics, arcana, history, insight, investigation, religion, and survival. My apologies for missing that. It was literally right underneath.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, apologies. Like, that would have been really weird if you actually didn't get any proficiencies.
Nah, fuck you, Blood Hunters.
Beginning at first level, you have survived the Hunter's Bane, a dangerous, long-guarded ritual that alters your life's blood, forever binding you to the darkness and honing your senses against it. Your advantage on wisdom survival checks to track fae, fiends, and undead, as well on intelligence ability checks to recall information about them. The Hunter's Bane also empowers your body to control and shape hemocraft magic, using your own blood and life essence to fuel your abilities. Some of your features require your target to make saving throws to resist the feature's effects. The saving throw is DC is calculated. It's the same thing, 8 plus proficiency bonus plus your intelligence modifier. Now getting to the really good stuff, your Blood Maledict. First level, you've gained the ability to channel and sometimes sacrifice a part of your vital essence to curse and manipulate creatures through hemocraft magic. You gain 1 blood curse of your choice, detailed in the blood curses section, at the end of the class description. You learn 1 additional curse of your choice, and you can choose one of the blood curses you know to replace it with another blood curse at 6th, 10th, 14th, and 18th level. When you use your Blood Maledict, you choose which curse to invoke. While invoking a blood curse, but before it affects your target, you can choose to amplify the curse by losing a number of hit points equal to 1 roll every hemocraft die. That's shown in the table. An amplified curse gains an additional effect noted in the curse's description. Creatures that do not have blood in the bodies are immune to blood curses unless you have amplified the curse. I think there's also a subclass that they do that ignores it, if I'm correct. It might be misread. This feature once, beginning at 6th level, and you can use it twice at 13, 3 times between rests at 17, and 4 times between rests. Wow, that's fucking weird.
You messed it up.
Okay, 17, 4, 13, 3, 2, 6. Yeah, I messed that up really bad. My bad. I read it and it looked weird to me, so like I tried like connecting dots and it fucked me up. But you get to regain all these after short or long rests, which is really good because these abilities really can help you. Your fighting style, you get a fighting style at second level, which are archery, dueling, great weapon fighting, and 2-weapon fighting. Also at level 2, you get Crimson Rite. You learn to invoke a Rite of Hemocraft within your within your weapon. I thought it was going to say on your weapon. At the cost of your own vitality. Choose one rite from the primal rites list below to learn. As a bonus action, you activate a Crimson Rite on a single weapon with the elemental energy of the known rite of your choice that lasts until the short or long rest. Until you finish a short or long rest. Or if you aren't holding the weapon at the end of your turn. When you activate a rite, you lose a number of hit points equal to 1 roll of your Hemocraft die, as shown in the column dealing with that. While active, attacks from the weapon deal an additional 1d4 of the chosen rite damage. The damage is magical and increases as you gain levels as a Blood Hunter, shown with the Hemocraft dice chart. A weapon can only hold a single active rite at a time. You learn an additional primal rite at 7th level and choose an esoteric rite at 14. I remember you used to be able to learn 3 out of the 4 because they took away 1. And then you get to learn 2 esoterics. That's how it used to be. But it changed. Probably for balancing reasons. At 3rd level, you get to a Blood Hunter order, which we'll get to at later points. Ability score improvements happen at 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th levels. You get extra attack at 5th level. At level 6, the next actual meat and potatoes that you'll get for the class abilities, it's called Brand of Castigation. Now, for anyone who used to play the older Blood Hunter, this is their equivalent of Blood Curse of Mutual Suffering, which was really good, and I wish they'd bring it back, but this is like their version of it. At 6th level, whenever you damage a creature with your Crimson Rite feature, you can choose a Seer, an arcane brand of Hemocraft magic into it. No action required. You also know the direction of the branded creature, and each time the branded creature deals damage to you or a creature you see within 5 feet of you, the branded creature suffers psychic damage equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1 damage. It's kind of like a hunter's mark to a degree, like a less powerful one. Your brand lasts until you dismiss it or you apply a brand to another creature. The brand counts as a spell for the purpose of dispel magic, and the spell level is equal to half your Blood Hunter level, maximum of a 9th level spell. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. I do know that this gets some pretty decent stuff out of it, though.
That's a really good... I don't know if I ever got up to... Well, I only got to 5th level with mine, I think. But that's... I mean, that bonus damage is nothing to shake a stick at.
It's decent. Blood Curse and Mutual Suffering was... not amplified, it takes half damage. At full amplified, it takes full damage of what they did to you. So imagine they did 100 damage to you. You did it unamplified, it was 50 damage. At amplified, it's full damage to them back. So that's why, like, I'm kind of upset that it got taken away, because it was really, really painful to get like hit by that. And if it was correct as a reaction that you could do that, but I'm not too sure. It's been a long time. Anyway, 9th level, you get Grim Psychometry. And this is actually, I've gotten to roleplay with Grim Psychometry. It's actually really cool. When you reach 9th level, you have a supernatural talent for discerning the history surrounding mysterious objects or places touched by evil. When making an intelligence history check to recall information about a darker past surrounding an object you are touching or a location you're present in, you have advantage on the roll. The information gleaned also leans towards the more sinister influences of the past, sometimes conveying visions of things previously unknown to the character on higher rolls. So this is really cool.
Yeah, it's now making more sense considering that they are an intelligence-based class now. Because in retrospect, a lot of their abilities are based around intelligence. I mean, it's not their primary stat, but the fact that intelligence is one of their secondary primary stat, essentially, because they are about knowing things.
Yeah.
About enemies. Sorry, I'm still hung up on how disgusting Brand of Castigation is. Because it's if you fight like a Meryl, they swing 6 times at you or 7 times at you. You're like, cool, take 30 psychic damage. Like each time you take damage. So, or especially if it's one of those things that a concentration spell. Anytime you take damage, you have to roll a concentration spell. You have to roll concentration. So anytime somebody casts a spell and they're hitting you,
it has to be within 5 feet of you.
And it says it deals damage to you or creature you can see within 5 feet of you.
Oh, okay.
So that means that you or an ally within 5 feet.
Yeah.
Actually, or a creature. So.
It could be anything.
Hold on. I need to go. There's one of them. One of them allows you to make them attack somebody they know, I think.
Blood Curse of the Fallen Puppet. When they get knocked unconscious or killed, you can use your reaction to have them attack something else of your choosing. And then Amplified, it adds proficiency.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I use that one a lot.
Well, it's because my thought is, if somebody's based with you, you could. I guess it doesn't work as well, but essentially you can make them. You swing at me, or like I drop you, and you're like, Mrr, and then I make you attack him, and you deal damage to them. But I'm like, that's a creature next to me, so you take
even further damage.
You take my intelligence modifier, so you're not just unconscious. Now you failed 2 death saving throws. Or whatever, some kind of break in the game. Not breaking the game, but
it's still pretty decent.
Yeah, that grim psychometry is definitely a very cool.
It requires a DM who's willing to use that to his advantage, because it is something that I can see being overlooked, mainly when there's several other party members. So for me, how it worked was really, really cool, because my DM used the visions like he was talking about. Like you see he more or less made it like a minute of the past. Like he saw the entire scene go down of what happened. So that's what I found really cool. And that led into a whole arc of the campaign that was off the cuff. But definitely keep your mind open while playing this character, trying to talk to your DM, or if you are the DM, try to use this for a Blood Hunter in your campaign.
That could be very useful, especially even if you don't you don't use it as a primary thing, because maybe you have a wizard in the game who has proficiency in all of the knowledge-based skills, and so you never get to roll your knowledge arcana. I'm sorry, Salem. He didn't get to roll any knowledge checks until after my wizard left the game. He was like, "Hooray! I get to roll things now. Things that I'm actually proficient in. I'm just not intelligence-based character, so I'm not as good as the fucking wizard." But that's definitely, it's a good way to bring the character, or to add to it, because maybe you have a wizard who knows something about this location based on what they read in a book or something. But the grim psychometry, it's more of like a feeling of you're stepping into the past, or I'm thinking of it like BioShock Infinite, where it's like a tear in reality where you kind of
you can see
into it. So that has its own thing. Maybe it's not, the wizard might know a lot about it, but maybe this is something different. Especially it's visions of things previously unknown. So that's
it's
you're a minute from the past or whatever. You get to view what something was happening. Very much similar to the memory things from Harry Potter, or any of that stuff where you're witnessing an event. It's kind of that kind of thing could be useful, and definitely brings into their it's kind of their specialty is knowing weird things. So I'm sure there are some places where, if you're playing a Blood Hunter in Ravenloft, then you're gonna probably have a what is it called? Seizures. You're dark path, it's everything. But
the poor guy is just gonna have to sit at home. He's just completely in a mental asylum,
right,
because of how much he's having to deal with.
right. So, but no, it can definitely like there would be or something in the. It could all. Oh man, I'm just thinking it'd be something cool like somebody gets they do a deed for somebody or whatever, and it's definitely something that I've seen in stuff where like they touch somebody's hand and they get a vision or something like that, because you're kind of getting like a vision from the object. So
Yeah.
that could definitely be a thing where maybe somebody drops something and you go to pick it up to be nice, and you pick it up and you're like, oh no, this is like a sacrificial dagger of the whatever. Like it could be so useful.
That gives me the vibes of That's So Raven.
Right. So it's there's so many uses that you could get out of it. Like, because I mean, if there's the you trying to get the use out of it, like, you forcing a vision, or almost like, let me touch it, vision. But it's, but it actually, as dumb as it sounds, it's almost a vibe check. You're like, all right, let me see it. Nope. No, this hairbrush is good. No, this hairbrush.
The hairbrush is good, but
the
bread slice.
Oh no, the Mjolnir, like type of thing. Like it could definitely, it could be used. Once again, kind of that meta gaming type of thing, but it not, because that it's a thing that can happen if there's like, so it's not. Once again, it's that your character has a certain level of knowledge about what they're capable of in game. So, but it could definitely a thing where you're like, all right, I'm gonna touch all of the thing. Like I'm gonna kind of.
It's even a place. Like, even if you're just in a place, you'll get it. Like, that's a good thing. It's like, it doesn't have to be specifically like that. Like, imagine, like, you're in a normal household and you just have, like, you just kind of sit there and you kind of, like, I imagine, like, your character, if they do see visions, kind of disassociates. And, like, you'll see, like, it could be, like, a thieves guild is run underneath. And so, like, there's people that have stabbed people that walk around, and like evil characters going about underneath, and like you kind of see like someone move a certain thing, and then like the books, like the bookcase could slide over, and you're just like, you come back to, and you're like, wow, that was weird.
Right, exactly. Like that's a way for, or it's one of those things that if you're trying to do a good deed, you could possibly solve a murder or something.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of the like Medium or any of those shows where it's some kind of supernatural ability, like. You can go in and you're like, this place, this is where a cult existed. So like, even if they pushed the cult out, they never learned anything about the cult. You can go in and like, oh, this was yeah. So it has a whole lot of uses that aren't just generic knowledge checks. So it's definitely more of a specific location based knowledge, which I think is that's a really cool ability.
I really do enjoy it. Anyway, continuing off of
we're discussing it, so it's not like this is a relevant tangent, at least.
Yeah, at least. So at 10th level, you get Dark Augmentation. Arcane Blood magic suffuses your body, permanently reinforcing your resilience. Your speed increases by 5, and whenever you make a Strength, Dexterity, or Constitution saving throw, you gain a bonus to your saving throw equal to your Intelligence modifier. This one's actually, I don't remember it being like this, but it's actually, like, I enjoy it just for the sheer fact you get a +5 to speed and at least a bonus given from your modifier.
Okay, now I need to quickly look up gnomes.
Gnomes?
Yeah, because gnomes get out of memory. How are you out of memory? No, give me the thing I want. Oh, jeez. So, Gnome Cunning, you have advantage on all Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws against magic.
Oh, wow.
So, it's one of those things that, like, if it's magic, you get advantage on your other saves, and if it's not, like, you get... So, it's one of those things, like, there's once again, it's a little mini-maxi of me, which I'm never known to do. But it's definitely one of those things that you can kind of play into it, that if you... Because you already have proficiency in the Intelligence proficiency, so you could always get... if you have something that gives you another random one, like you get charisma or something, and then, wisdom, you get like, so you can kind of, because saving throws are really important. So it's definitely one of those things that it doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't.
And the fact it's just outright. So that's
Yeah, it's a very here's your stuff. You don't need any more
Yeah,
like
exactly.
anything.
It's not situational, and it makes sense that it's based on your physical characteristics. You know, because you're augmenting your physical stuff. So it's
You've done this for so long that it physically changes you even further.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what I was going to get to. Brand of Tethering. So this basically strengthens Brand of Castigation. Starting at 13th level, the psychic damage from your Brand of Castigation feature increases to twice your intelligence modifier, minimum of 2. In addition, the branded creature cannot take a dash action, and if a creature branded by you attempts to teleport or leave the current plane of existence via ability, spell, or portal, they take 46 psychic damage and must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failure, the teleport or plane shift ends.
That's pretty great.
Dude, imagine this, and then they're still going through with it, and then like your spellcaster does counterspell in case that yours fails. You know how freaking terrible that would be? Like they still got a migraine and they pass through it and they still get shut off. And then they try it again and they get a migraine again. It's just like, congratulations, you're not winning this fight.
Right. And it does when they attempt to teleport or leave the current plane. So that makes it even better. If you're going the that'd be pretty broke.
Yeah, like
well, not broken, but it's definitely
it's an attempt, so you don't have to succeed.
It reminds me of your Scorpion. Get over here.
Basically.
Stay over here.
You ain't leaving. I'm gonna make you stay.
I'm gonna make you stay.
At 14th level, you get Hardened Soul. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed and frightened. That for some reason I thought it was like it might be my false memory. It might be something that I accurately remembered. I thought you out of this you used to have immunity because I remember I had a creature that I played that had immunity to it. I guess.
So but yeah, this is one of those almost give me's because having advantage because it's not even that you're immune. It's that you have advantage against being charmed and frightened. Those aren't common things. Maybe they're common things against Fae and Undead, so it makes more sense. It's actually class-specific relevance, but it's not many things charm and not many things frighten. So, like, it's... I mean, you know, dragons, but, you know, because they frighten. I think they have, like, their frightening aura or whatever, but, like... It's not a bad ability. It's kind of like barbarians, their strength one, that they get whatever their strength is. That's their minimum they can roll, you know, type of thing. Like it's not a bad ability. There's really no downsides to it, but it's a little underwhelming. But I mean, once again, like you're fighting it, you know. I mean, you're 14th level. If you're fighting vampires, then you're like, ha, you can't charm me or frighten me. Like, so.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like
I brand you. You bite me. You take psychic damage. Eat a dick.
I remember it being immunity. I might be wrong. I'll check it after I go through Sanguine Mastery, but it's like it would make sense given like you know they fight the darker things like you know the vampires.
Yeah, exactly. Fae are known to charm. Like charming and Fae are like that makes sense. That's why elves are immune to it. Like type of thing. So it's not like that's why I'm saying it's like based on the fact that they Fae, undead, and was it fiends?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just currently rereading Sanguine Mastery.
Fae, Unfiends, and Undead, like it's
useful.
It makes sense because fiends try to frighten and so it's relevant to the things that you are specifically trained to fight and kill. So it makes it's vague. It's weirdly specific, but it makes sense. And like I said, it's not a bad ability. You know, it's
just one of those like here you go.
Yeah, it's a little underwhelming. You know, you could give them a little bit more to that.
Yeah.
You know, you could almost, add
it's like they could have went with immunity.
No, because that could be, that could be pretty ridiculous, too.
Well, I imagine like after a certain point, you're just like, I'm not scared of a vampire after killing so many of them, you know?
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's not a bad ability.
It's definitely just one of those like here you go.
It's here you go. It's relevant, but not. I'm sure maybe at that point, maybe like I'd have to look up Fae. Like I said, Charmed is useful against Fae, Frightened is useful against undead, I guarantee it, and definitely useful against fiends. And Charmed is probably useful against fiends. Like, so it is all useful for their specific class, like targeted enemies.
All right.
So it follows the theme. It's not just a random out of nowhere. You get here.
Yeah. At level 20, you get Sanguine Mastery. You honed in your control over blood magic, mitigating. I thought it said migrating. Mitigating your sacrifice and empowering your capability. Once per turn, whenever a Blood Hunter feature requires you to roll a Hemocraft die, you can choose to reroll and choose which result to use. In addition, whenever you score a critical hit with a weapon attack empowered by your Crimson Right, you gain 1 expended use of the Blood Right Maledict. That one's actually really useful. I didn't know that last part, because I don't think I've ever hit level 20 as a Blood Hunter. I've hit, like, I think level 16 or 17, but it is really useful.
It's higher than I've gotten it with any character. I think 10th level is the highest I've gotten in 5th edition. Got a level 17 Necromancer in 3rd edition. But, so...
Sorry, I'm, like, looking at...
Hemocraft, that's their... No, is that their blood right damage, or is that something different?
Hemocraft is dealing with their blood right. So it's a Crimson Right if it's weapon damage. Right. Crimson Right. Because I'm looking at the 1.2 edition, where they still had Rite of the Ruined, which was their acid damage. So I'm looking at some of their stuff right now. Blood Maledicts, Sanguine Mastery. So here's the difference. I'm telling you, this is how it changes. Also, they got rid of something. They got rid of Endearing Form. Endearing Form on the original or 1.2 was when you reach 17th level, while you're unconscious, you can spend 2 hit dice to reroll a death save. Like, they took away a lot of stuff. The original, or one of the original Sanguine Masteries, was you become so attuned to your weapons that your Crimson Right is perfected, no longer requiring you to hurt yourself, like to take the Crimson Right damage. When you invoke a Crimson Right, you no longer reduce your maximum hit points, which it used to be that. In addition, when you are below 1/4 of your current hit points and conscious, all your Crimson Right dice are maximized.
Okay, so your blood curses use your Hemocraft die.
Okay, so Hardened Soul at level 14 on 1.2 was you no longer can become frightened, so you're immune to frightened, and you have advantage on saving throws against magical charm effects. There was a thing called Dark Velocity at 11th level where you become... it says your speed increases by 10 and attacks of opportunity are made against you or have disadvantage.
Okay, that's really... Sorry, I'm just reading the Hemocraft die is the damage you take when you use a blood maledict.
So the D4, the D6, D8, D10, D12.
It only gets up to D10 now. At least according to the table I'm looking at.
What the fuck? They lowered it again? Oh my god, they consistently lower this.
Well, that's a lot.
Because I'm reading the 1.2 edition, which is one of the more original ones. Because if I'm correct, Ghostslayer, I think Ghostslayer, you're able to, if unconscious, still continue fighting through a ghost form.
Oh, this is... Okay, so you only amplify it is the one where you would lose the hit points. You can use a blood curse.
Yeah, you can use a blood curse without amplifying.
Okay.
But if it doesn't have blood, it doesn't work. But if you amplify it still works.
But it's when you amplify it, that's when you roll the Hemocraft die. So you get to roll twice and take the lowest, essentially. So that means that you can use means you're amplifying more often because you're not taking as much damage. You're, which is good. And then that pairs well with whenever you score a critical hit with a weapon attack by your Crimson Right, you expend 1 expended use your blood maledict ability. That's okay. Yeah. So that's a good way. That's an aggressive way. Actually, reminds me a lot of. What's the name of the game now? Bloodborne. It reminds me a lot of Bloodborne, because in Bloodborne they have the rally ability. So when you take damage, you take the damage, but there's like almost temporary hit points, and when you attack back something, you gain some of those. You rally to gain some of those hit points back, essentially. So it's like a temporary hit point debuff that if you don't rally, you actually lose them. So that's kind of what it reminds me of, is that, you use a blood maledict, and then you punch somebody with, your Crimson Right. It's a critical. You get that blood, like, you get an ability back. So it's it's a more aggressive version of, like, the thing where you get your Bardic Inspiration back, or you get 4 key points with Monk. We'll get to them eventually. But, like, it's a more aggressive version of that, which I kind of like.
Dude, they changed these so hard from when I originally played, because Ghost Slayer's rewritten, and there's abilities that are different. Now, of course, if you're a homebrew, you can change this. I'm definitely going to be, if someone wants to play a older style Blood Hunter, I'm like totally fine with that. Because I remember my last Blood Hunter, that was Ghost Slayer. I remember going unconscious, and this is in the 1.2, where when you're unconscious, you have a spirit that comes out, and it has, if it gets attacked and damaged, it'll fade, but you are able to continue fighting through a ghost form. That's no longer in the new edition of that, or the most recent up-to-date one, which really sucks. So it was a really cool thing. It's like, it doesn't make sense, but it was there. Like, they had some really cool abilities that you could do. And I was right, the older blood, not Dark Argumentation, the Hollowed Veins, or the 14th level regular one.
Hardened
I just
Body.
had it. Yeah, Hardened Body. You weren't
Hardened Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but you were immune to Frightened, so I was right. Like, the older edition did have it. It's just they changed it so much for balancing, I guess.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean,
it makes sense. Just as someone who's played through these stages, it's kind of annoying to see how it's getting less and less.
Right.
But
like, I put it out because I think I messaged the group that I played my Blood Hunter with, and I was like, hey, I miss you guys, like, because it was a lot of fun. Because that was the game that I was playing, the human Blood Hunter with the, lycanthropy, essentially. We had a half-orc barbarian who's very religious, which was really interesting. And a human paladin of vengeance, I think. Like he hated, like, mages and whatnot. Like, so it's just... We were not afraid to murder things. And essentially, like, I was like, I miss you guys. Like, it was really cool. It was a fun game. And they're like, oh, yeah, we should play again. And I would be down to play. And I was like, I would have to rework my character, though, because that was when it was still wisdom. So my character worked because my wisdom was a 16. And so some of my abilities were based on wisdom, whereas, my intelligence was a 9. So now it would not work at all. Like...
you have to redo everything.
Yeah, I was like, my 16 dex, 16 wisdom is not functional. I think 16 constitution as well. Like, not gonna work. It's not gonna.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of changing, which is sad. Seems like a lot of this stuff has changed. I think that's actually why I ended up going Order of the Mutant with my last character, was because I was originally going to do Ghost Slayer, and then it changed completely from what I wanted. And I was like, you know what, Mutant's something that I've dabbled with before. I'll look into it. Looked at it. I was like, this is decent. I'm gonna go with that. So
Lycanthrope will never not be my favorite. That is so badass.
I think what I'm going to do is, if I ever make another character, I'm just going to talk to the DM and be like, hey, look, this is what I would like. And we can go through with about making it, like, kind of in between the two, because, like, there's abilities in it that are, like, good. And there's abilities in it that I think are, like, that could be better. But again, based on DM discretion.
Okay, so we obviously both love this class. It's not one of my top ones, but it's a good class. It's probably top 5, because it's a lot of fun. Like, I only had the experience with my lycanthrope one, but that was a lot of fun, and it's definitely a theme class, kind of like artificers are kind of an Eberron theme, type of thing. Not necessarily, or they were originally, but that changed. So I like the class. It has a lot of specific features, so it's definitely it's good. It's good in any instance. Like, we established the dark grim psychometry. That could be really, really useful in a game. For especially when the players have kind of ended one kind of arc and they're kind of like moseying around, and you're trying to get into another one, and that's a great way to use a character's class ability. So that's not even like, oh, this person murdered your mom. Now you have to go hunt them down. Oh no. Like, that's like something that makes sense. You know, you can keep sending things. They keep getting these visions. So maybe they don't even know they have an object on them that is, you know, maybe they just keep getting visions, and then eventually they realize that ring, you can even track it, you know, maybe back to one of the, like, if you plan it out so that, like, if you do milestone, like, maybe at level 1 they or maybe level 3, because that's usually when you're getting a little bit more magic items, but maybe they get like, oh, thank you for saving me, young one, here's this ring, and like you give them a ring that maybe it's just a ring of, I don't know, ring of protection, or no, maybe not ring of protection, but it's, you know, it's a minor magic ring. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't do anything super fancy, but, you know, maybe has a spell once per day or something like that. Something, you know, kind of trivial, but still possibly useful. Like, they're not necessarily going to just pawn it off.
A ring that gives you a +1 to your persuasion roll.
Right, but I think they went away with adding just straight bonuses to skill checks. But it's not terrible. You know, maybe it's something that they'll keep using, but then at level 9, like, they milestone, and then at level 9 they keep having like weird dreams, and, you know, they don't realize, and eventually they figure out that there's something with the ring, and then, oh, now that, which has that one of those tie-in effects where it's like this person that they ran into before, oh, now, like, you know, kind of like a cohesion with the story. And I just realized how useful that ability is if your character ever uses, especially specific to Tal'Dorei, those like cursed. Actually, that would actually be a great way to figure out if an item is cursed.
Yo, that would be, actually.
Like, okay, brief side tangent. I think that I'm okay with somebody using the short rest to identify a magic item, but you cannot, because that's in the rules. Technically, that's an actual rule. Like, you have to homebrew it out, I think. I like the idea that you can use that to identify magic items, but you have to use the identify spell specifically to identify whether or not an item is cursed. But that would be an interesting way to figure out whether, like, you're like, I picked this up, it's cursed. But with the I can't remember what they're called, like the arms of the betrayer, or whatever, the betrayers or whatever. Those are like tier-based magic items that you can get in Tal'Dorei, and you know.
Yeah, I haven't played the Tal'Dorei setting.
It's in the Tal'Dorei book. It's essentially, they're like magic items that the more attuned to them you become, the stronger they grow. But like,
that's really cool.
They're like 3 tiers. Like, yeah, they're really cool. They're really cool items, and it'd be nifty. That would be a cool way. That'd actually be a really cool way for you to figure out how to destroy them too. Like, that would be a cool. Like, oh my god, it has a lot of uses, because you're like, oh, you pick it up and then you kind of are spending time researching it, how to destroy it, like, or whatever, you know, figure it out, and it's, or at least if you're using it, you understand its significance more than like if the fighter was using it, because you understand its history on a deeper level. But yeah, that's a great ability. Like, all of it, it's you know, it's obviously a little bit more combat, but it also, the class is very knowledge based, which I like. So it's almost a middle ground between fighter and ranger, wizard, like a.
It's got a little bit of a lot.
Yeah, it's like it definitely has that wizard vibe, you know, to it, because of not all of the knowledge that you've gained, but it's, you know, because it's not specifically bard, because bard is generic, and it's not ranger because it's useful. But no, overall it's a good class, I think. Maybe there could be options of things that you've studied. I'm trying to think of negatives, like, or anything I dislike about it, and I don't think there's really a whole lot to dislike about it. I mean,
I'm sure someone can find something.
Well, of course, people are going to bitch about whatever, but I think it's very niche in what it does. So if you're not, it could be shitty if you're playing in a game with where the GM just wanted, you know, if we're going based on modules, if you're playing, you know, the base module, or the Waterdeep module, or the giant module or the dragon module, like if you're not doing things that revolve around what your character would know about, like that would be really shitty.
Yeah.
So it would suck to be like, I'm really good with Fae, undead, and fiends. Like you're like, penny for a fiend, penny for to like just or like, man, I get really, oh man, you got any of that fiends? You got any of those fiends, man? Like that could be a way that it's definitely it's kind of the same thing with playing a ranger, like especially I will only ever discuss revised ranger for the record. That's like playing a revised ranger and the GM not throwing in whatever your favorite enemy is on occasion.
Exactly.
It's if you're playing a revised ranger and you aren't interacting with things that are your favorite enemies, then like the majority of your class features are getting fucked over. Kind of the same thing with if the GM doesn't drop spell scrolls on occasion. Like if you're a wizard and the GM isn't like throwing some spell scrolls in there as rewards on occasion, like you're losing out on one of your class features. Like so it's the same thing. Like that would be one issue I would have is playing in a game. Once again, that's not even an issue with the class. It's an issue with a GM not utilizing or not. I guess utilizing what class features your character has access to, like writing a story to incorporate, or there we go, incorporating. It's not incorporating your character into the overall campaign, because that would suck. You're like, cool, I'm really good at. It's very much that judging a fish by on its ability to climb a tree type of thing. You're like,
yeah,
or oh no, you know what? It actually reminds me of the. From a Modern Family, it's like I'm really smart in Spanish, like that. There's so many references or analogies that you can get. You're like, I'm really smart at these things that I know. We just don't ever. It's my life. Actually. Now that I'm realizing it's pretty much my life. Like, anybody want to discuss flash facts? So it's but oh, I'm a blood hunter apparently. Working on the lichen. But yeah, it's a good class, but it can definitely be screwed over by a GM who doesn't want to incorporate, because a lot of GMs are like, no, this is what we're doing, this is my story, this was the plan all along. Which that's something that you, as playing the class, you're like I'm thinking about Brandon, you're gonna run a game, and I'm thinking about playing a blood hunt. You're like, my campaign's not gonna focus heavily on Fae, undead, or fiends. So know that you still want to play one, fine. Just some of your abilities won't get as much use as they could.
Yeah,
so, because that is something that, okay, I think I still want to play it, because you obviously you fucking love the class, you don't give a shit, but
yeah, I don't.
You're like, okay, yeah, no, yeah, okay, I'll play something else then. I'll play a fighter. I'll play a.
What's funny is that they made it a lot more niche. Like when I was going through the 1.2, like a lot of these abilities, and there's they got a little bit more throughout it. They used to be a little bit more universal, to where it's like you were able to, for the ghost light, like when you got knocked unconscious, you were able to continue fighting in a ghost shape. Mm-hmm. And if you died, you died. Like it's just when your ghost shape is killed, you're still unconscious, you're not dead. That's something that they took out, which would give you a little bit more DPS and a little bit more fighting ability. In the core stuff, they changed a lot of stuff to where it was not as niche, to where you could still effectively use a lot of your class abilities. And I'll try to.
Now I'm thinking of it, that the ghost one, not exactly the same, but it sounds a little similar to Echo Knight.
Yeah,
maybe it was just it's something they were trying to it's too close to Echo Knight, especially because it's Matt's class. So they're like, that seems like I like it, but it's a little close to kind of the, oh look, I have a specter or a shadow of myself that's doing a thing.
Yeah.
So. But
it was specific when you're unconscious, so I could see how it echoes it. It echoes
right,
it. It's like a tit for tat type of thing, where it's like, yeah, that's a little bit too close to it, a little bit on the nose.
Yeah. So I think it's a good class overall, honestly. I mean, obviously you're biased, but
I'm biased because I played the older editions of it. It's just like the older editions actually had really neat stuff to it. I still played the newer version of it. I just didn't do Ghost Slayer, and I focused a lot more heavy into the non core class features. I went really hard into the Order of the Mutant class features where it was more prominently
like
good.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's which is a lot of classes. Like a lot of classes are just like a framework, and then it's the direction that you like which subclass you're going to go to. Like oh, my character's this, so like I'm going to be an Eldritch Knight, or nah, I think I'll be like, so it's the same thing. Like all fighters are fighters, but not all, fighters are Eldritch
not all
Knights.
samurai not all fighters are samurai, but
all samurais are fighters.
Samurai fighters.
There we go. It's the whiskey scotch conversation. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. It's a good class.
It is really good.
I definitely want to play Lycan, Order of the Lycan character again.
I'd love to play a game where I'm not DMing. Anyways.
Me too.
That is the end of the video, guys. That is the core features of the Blood Hunter class, the most up-to-date one that I could find. So thank you guys for watching. I'm Brandon Wynn.
I'm Kalvin.
See you guys in the next video.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And now you get to listen to the outro song. And that's the outro song. Yeah.